Dos Pequeños is a proud member of
the Barelas Podcasters Guild.
The Oracle Network. Look deeper.
This is Dos Pequeños,
a funnier look at the paranormal in New Mexico.
with your co-ghosts, Eric Carter Landine.
And Alex.
What's up, Alex?
Hey, Eric. How you doing, my man?
I am doing awesome. It is the last day of 2020, so I have some hope, maybe?
Yay, last day of
I
2020.
don't know if I should have hope.
I'm not sure if 2021 is going to be much better.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. I've got a lot of hope.
I think we're supposed to be acting real cool, like nothing's going on right now, so that 2021 doesn't get spooked out.
Yeah, we
and
don't
start
want to
some
jinx
shit.
ourselves, man. We need to knock on some wood or something.
Let's all promise to be cool.
Yeah, let's just be cool. If we could be cool, it would make the year a lot better.
That should just be like the motto of 2021. Just
Be cool.
Yeah, don't be a dick. Don't be a duck. So I want to say thank you. We have a new patron named Amber.
Hey,
So
Amber.
thank you to Amber.
Shout out to Amber.
Thank you to Jackie, our OG patron.
OG.
We're going to start some really cool shit with Patreon. So if you miss us and you miss us recording our episodes, we are planning on doing some fun stuff on Patreon. And all you have to do is join. And I think there's like $1 a month here, so it doesn't cost that much if you want to hang out with us.
For $1, you can
feed an Alex and an Eric.
feed an Alex and an Eric.
You can adopt an American. $1.66 a day, I think, is what $600 works out to.
Yeah.
So
It's funny that our government's doing the same thing right now. $1.64 a day.
Yeah.
That's so fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. So we're gonna start doing some Netflix watch parties.
Yeah.
And we're gonna let our patrons pick the scary movie that we're gonna watch, and then we're all just gonna talk trash the entire time. So that should be fun.
That sounds like a lot. I'm excited for that.
I am too.
Yeah.
So that'll be monthly, and if you're interested in that funness, then you can join our Patreon. So we will be back probably in March or April with new episodes and season 2 of Dos Pequeños, but we wanted to come and hang out and announce that I'm pregnant.
He is now pregnant. Someone actually put that on. It was Phoenix, right?
That was Paul.
Was it Paul?
Paul on Instagram, yeah. Because I said we're going to have a TinyTerror coming soon, and it seems like everybody forgot because we haven't done one in so long.
Right. I think we only had one TinyTerror.
Yeah, so this is our second TinyTerror.
Well, tell me what it is, Eric, since you're not pregnant.
It's a demon child in my stomach.
That is terrifying.
No, TinyTerror is... Actually, we had our listeners vote on what our mini episodes would be called, and that's what won. So basically, we are going to tell your stories. We're going to use your words, our mouths, your ears, all that fun stuff. You'll be able to hear your own stuff coming out of our mouth holes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hopefully some of these are kind of spooky for you guys. Get you back in the mood for 2021 spook time coming around the corner. Yeah. So who's going first? Me?
Sure.
Okay. So
Cue spooky music.
So I've got a long one. Okay, here's the story. I moved to Albuquerque from Longmont, Colorado in May of 2019. I came here for a job and needed an apartment really quickly. I only marginally knew what part of town was okay to move to because my next door neighbor in Colorado was from Albuquerque and he gave me a heads up. So I rented an apartment in the Northeast Heights, sight unseen. Feel free to make fun of me for this. I know that moving to Albuquerque is odd enough, but renting a place without looking at it first? Well, yeah. Anyway, so I don't even get to tour the place before I move in. No video tour, nothing. I actually didn't even really talk to the leasing office before I moved in. I signed a year's lease, packed my shit, and moved down. My daughter helped me move in on the first night. She refused to stay in the extra bedroom. She slept on the floor of the living room. She said that room had a weird vibe. I thought the whole place had a weird vibe, but hey, I was stuck, so ideal. The next morning, we looked around the apartment a bit more and we noticed some things. The door didn't close properly, so you had to lock the deadbolt to keep the door shut. There was a brand new shiny kick plate on the door and all of the paint was new. There were accent walls in all the rooms and they were all painted a dark gray. The rest of the walls were white. The next day we went out, finished moving in, and we went sightseeing a bit. I left my dog at the apartment. The dog is 13 years old and a border collie. She's deaf and blind and just kind of lives her life on treats and dog food and walks. My dog seemed upset when we got back, but I couldn't figure out why. I probably will never know what upset her, but this dog never gets upset about anything. So it was kind of a big deal. My daughter and I hung out at the apartment that night and started moving things in and around, making it home and such. She noticed that the paint was splotchy on the accent wall in the living room. There were also weird holes that had been patched in the wall. They were about a 1/4 inch round and were in a small triangular pattern. I blew it off thinking that they had hung something heavy on the wall, maybe a television or something, who knew. My kids stayed for a few more days and nothing really strange happened, just splotchy paint in all the rooms where all the accent walls were painted. I called maintenance to ask them to fix the door. They came by, said they fixed it, but it still falls open if I don't lock it. Not like I don't lock it anyway, but it's kind of annoying if someone is going in and out while I'm here to have to keep unlocking the door. A few days after my daughter went back to Colorado, I was in bed asleep. The windows were closed, the closet door in the spare room opened, and the door slammed shut. I woke up, looked around, and noticed that the splotchy paint on the walls looked a bit like blood splatter. The holes looked like bullet holes, and I got freaked. I loaded a gun and tried to go back to sleep.
Oh my God.
The next morning, I was thinking I was just being silly. Maybe a draft slammed the doors. Don't be weird. However, the paint did look like blood splatter, and the holes still look like bullet holes. I'm just saying. I put something heavy in front of the door to keep it from slamming and went about my business. I like to play guitar, so my intention was to set that room up as a spare bedroom and music room. I had my music stand, my stools that I sit on to play, my guitars and stands, so I could just head that way whenever I wanted to play. One night, one of my guitars fell out of the stand. It happened a couple of times. I moved the guitars to the dining room. I'm single, so I don't really need a dining room. That other room was now empty. I'd taken down the air mattress that my kid slept on when she was there, and the room was completely empty. I told him, fine, you win. I'll only use this room when people come to visit. I'm not even here that long anyway. Shortly after that, I would start to hear people talking to me. They weren't speaking out loud, but only in my head. They told me to look at the walls. Really, look at them. I did. Then they started asking questions. Questions are bad. My grandfather always told me that if you hear questions from somewhere, don't answer. Tell them it's none of their business. My grandfather was Comanche. He told me that there were evil ones that lived around us, and they can attach to us, but only if we let them. He told me that they would ask questions to try to learn about us, and that's how they attached to us. He said it was fine to be rude to them and to tell them it was none of their business. If they didn't leave you alone, then tell them it was none of their damn business. All caps. Don't ask them to leave. Tell them. If that doesn't work, call my ancestors, and they will help. Well, I went with, you have to leave, it's none of your business a few times. They pushed harder, and then got to, it's none of your damn business. And then, it's none of your fucking business. The noise got louder and doors slammed and closets opened and doors closed. Questions got asked. Finally, I began to call my ancestors. I couldn't take care of them on my own anymore. My grandfather came and had a talk with them. He told them to leave. They refused. My father and my uncles joined my grandfather, and they all tried to push them out. They refused to go. At this point, my relatives are all here. Spirits are here, but we have a very uncomfortable agreement. They can stay, but I pay their rent, so I can use the room and they will ignore me. No more questions, no more talking, no more slamming doors. I have the understanding that if my relatives leave, the shenanigans will begin again. I have begun to renew my lease in May, but I only signed until January, so we'll see what happens between now and then.
Shenanigans. So this one is from another listener. She sent this in to us. I'm going to give it a read. So I've experienced many paranormal experiences throughout my life, beginning from the time that I was 12 and continuing on for 20 plus years. Side note, I'm now 34. I was born and raised in Las Cruces up until the age of 18. Then I moved around the country from there. I've lived in El Paso, Texas, Maryland, and Georgia, and I'm now back home in Cruces. I won't type out a novel depicting all my experiences, but I'll tell you about two of the houses I've lived in where I had the most profound experiences. One that I felt was evil, and the other was playful. In high school, I lived with my dad for 2 years, and he lived half a mile from my school. Go Trojans. I loved this house, but there was definitely a negative entity here. Excuse me. I love negative.
We need a shirt that says negativity entity.
The negativity entity.
It's just a ghost, and he's like, everything's shit.
Okay, yeah. I think seriously, the negativity entity. Just like with his arms crossed. All,
I won't.
I'm not going to say boo. I loved this house, but there was definitely a negative entity there. You just felt the terrifying negativity when the presence was near. Sorry, now the negativity is just going to make me think of this like ghost that's like emo.
It's Eeyore's ghost.
Yeah, it's Eeyore. No, I don't know.
I guess I'll give it a try.
You just felt the terrifying negativity when the presence was near. Multiple times I witnessed a 7 to 8 foot large shadow walking, floating towards me, and then disappear once it floated to me within 4 feet of me. Jesus. One instance, my dad's ex-wife was with me. We were sitting in the garage at night, and this shadow figure materialized on the ground outside the garage in between two vehicles, as if it was crawling towards us, and then it quickly floated up into a standing position right outside the garage. My stepmom never took her eyes off of the shadow and asked me, "Do you see that?" And at that moment I realized I wasn't just 17 and fucking crazy because an adult was seeing what I was seeing. This presence would also flip the bathroom sink faucets on, slam cabinet doors in the kitchen, and the fridge door in the kitchen would also open and close. I felt terrified and had goosebumps every single time this presence made itself known. It was absolutely negative and possibly poltergeist activity. This must be the playful one.
Okay.
The second house is located in the deep South Georgia. I lived in a house there that was built in the 1960s on Fort Stewart. There were many tiny burial grounds all over Stewart that date back to the Civil War. And I believe there was a ghost of a little girl from that era in the house that enjoyed being mischievous. And I personally witnessed an apparition of a little girl numerous times with long dark hair wearing what looked to be a long white nightgown that could have come right out of the 1800s. And I saw her on 3 separate occasions. Once, when my son and daughter were running from the living room to the kitchen playing with each other, and she appeared out of nowhere and looked like she was chasing them, and then she disappeared after 3 seconds, her dark hair and white nightgown flowing after her as she ran. She would also play with the daughter's toys, who were 3 at the time, and toys would roll by themselves across the living room. Stuffed animals would move across the room, and she would also open and close the lower cabinets in the kitchen. The creepiest occurrence was when I was downstairs watching TV by myself and my daughter's toddler light-up toy piano started playing and lighting up as if the child was just pressing the keys. It lasted for maybe 10 seconds and then just stopped. FYI, the switch on the toy had been turned off at the time because I checked after it stopped.
Oh my God.
I never felt terrified or like she would hurt myself or my family, though, unlike the first entity I mentioned.
The negativity entity.
The negativity entity. Dude, we got to make that. I mean, seriously, I'm gonna draw something up.
You got to. All right, is it my turn?
Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, that was good.
Mm-hmm. It's well written.
Yeah, I believe she saw something.
Yeah, I believe it too.
Yeah. Okay, so this is from another listener. A lot of weird shit used to happen when I was younger. I was probably around 14 or 15 years old when this started. The first time I saw it was in my dream. In my dream, I was in my living room and I heard a noise as if someone was trying to get into the house. I could feel whatever it was had gotten in, so I started to run to my dad's room where I knew that he kept a bat. The person, in quotes, saw me run and started chasing me. He was right on my heels. I ran into my dad's room and for a split second, I recognized my little brother was asleep in my dad's bed. I ran to get the bat, picked it up, turned to swing it for the first time, and I saw a shadow figure. The second my bat was to make contact with the figure, it disappeared. It was so real. My parents were divorced at the time, and we were sharing custody of my brother, who was 12 years younger than me, so he was pretty young. The next morning, I woke up to find that my mom had dropped off my little brother after I'd fallen asleep the night before. He had slept in my dad's bed that night, and that made my dream feel all the more eerie. I wonder if it was a dream. Sometime after my dream, our kitchen at the time had a large window looking out into the backyard. One day I was in the kitchen, when out of the corner of my eye, I see this, quote, person dart for the back door. Without thinking about it, I instinctively ran to the door and locked the deadbolt. After a few seconds of silence, I peeked through the curtains of the French doors, but to my surprise, there was nothing. No one. The more I thought about it, the more I realized what I saw was more of a shadow figure. No characteristics, no clothes, no hair, no face, just a being. A few days later, maybe a few weeks, I came home one afternoon, was walking up to my front door. I was getting my house key out to unlock the door when I felt this undeniable sense of having to protect myself. With the sun at my back, I see this shadow on the ground near me, as if someone was quickly approaching from behind me. Again, without thinking, I instinctively turned around to face who I thought was going to be my attacker. I put my fists up, but again, nothing. No one. The funny thing about all of this is, despite my combative reactions, I never felt fear. only the strong sense to protect myself. Since then, I've only seen it twice. Once when I was coming home one evening/night, he was sitting on a boulder we had in the front yard, and then again at my grandma's house. He was just off to the side of the house looking at me. It never approached me again, and during the last 2 times I saw him, I didn't feel threatened or like I needed to protect myself from him. He just felt like another being.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, spooky. Okay, so on social media, I had posted something about when you buy a new house and they didn't tell you it's haunted. And I asked everyone, I was like, hey, have you guys ever lived in a haunted house before? Okay. We got some replies, and I want to read some of those now.
Okay.
So this is from one of our listeners. My grandmother's house, we were having some after-school snacks and chatting with her, and a lid from our Tampico, that's important in Mexican houses.
It definitely is.
That was nowhere near the edge of the counter, legit flew off onto the floor. And I go, Grandma, your house is haunted? And she says, what's that?
Ah!
She didn't grasp it.
Grandma's like, no.
No. Just
Go get my Tampico.
Yeah, go get it. Why is it on the ground?
Here's another one from a listener. As a toddler, the first house I lived in was haunted. It was an old brick house. We'd lived there till I was 7. Those were my earliest and strongest memories. My mom was afraid, and my dad would tell us that we were making it up. Me and my sister and friends remember the house and all the strange things that happened there.
Yeah.
Spooky.
Have you ever lived in a haunted house?
I don't think so. Have you?
No.
I want to.
I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
I had the other night. I had kind of a experience with I wanted to tell you about it on our drive the other day, but I forgot about it. But I had a sleep paralysis experience.
No way.
Yeah.
What happened?
I totally did. But it was like so small and not very scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like for like a few seconds and then it was over. But I was like just sitting there chilling on my bed, laying there watching TV. And then I just kind of realized that there were some people looking at me, and I looked over and there was a bunch of people just smiling, and I was like, oh, weird. And then I kind of popped out of it.
Holy
and
shit, dude.
And it was over. So I don't know. I guess my ghost or my hat man is a nice guy.
You don't have negativity entities?
I don't have negativity entities.
Cool, man. Well,
we also had some ideas maybe about what we could do for the end of the season Halloween edition for next year.
uh-huh.
And I want to talk about it maybe for a second. You know, we're thinking about basically going somewhere and doing a live podcast at a location, like Tombstone, Stanley Hotel, somewhere that's just, you know, ultra mega haunted. And we might have you guys vote on that coming soon as well.
Yeah, we thought it would be fun, especially if COVID permits it to happen. And maybe some people can come with us and check out a live recording, ask questions maybe.
Go on a ghost hunt.
Go on a ghost hunt. Yeah, all that fun stuff. So we're figuring that out, but we will be back with an episode in March sometime. So stay tuned. Look at our social media. We'll keep you updated as to what's going on there. And if you want another Tiny Terror to happen, you got to keep sending us stories, because that's how we do this. We tell your stories back to you. Yeah.
Listen to your stories.
Out of our mouth, with your words. In your ears.
In your ears.
Yeah. So you can email us at spookenos@gmail.com, spookenos@gmail.com, or you can DM us. Don't be all creepy in the DMs. Well, be extra creepy in the DMs. Just don't be pervy. Okay. Blocked and reported, just like I blocked Alex.
That's why I haven't seen any of your shit. I'm like, where's Eric been?
No, I didn't block Alex. All right, well, we miss you guys, and we will be back as soon as possible. Until then, you can check out True Consequences. Also, check out some amazing shows that are on the Burles Podcasters Guild Network. There's so many. There's anything you could think of. You know, there's current events, there's parenting, there's food. Lots and lots and lots of fun podcasts. There's something about healthcare on the Guild, and we have more shows being added every day. So we are super excited to be a part of that, and I think that's all we have today, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what do you say, Alex?
Stay spooky.
Peace.